up, everybody? You are listening to the Super Gamecast. I am your host, Bronson Fiore, joined by nobody. Hey, it is the weekend after Christmas, and because of that, I kind of told everyone, go chill, go enjoy time with your friends and family who are not me. And kind of just go from there. And I'm gonna do a solo show, and we'll have a great time. We normally take this week off, and the reason is because not a whole lot of news is happening. Christmas holiday is going on. That kind of thing is all kind of part of what's happening. Like that's kind of what's up. And that's right, because when I went to pull news stories for today's show, there's stuff to talk about, but it's definitely not your normal week. But before I get into that, I kind of wanted to go over this year as a whole. 2025 in video games, for me personally and professionally, was very mixed. Uh, just a lot of bad news, a lot of mergers, layoffs constantly. It feels like the past 3 years have just been, look at all these layoffs. Man, these jobs. Because you had the overhiring spree that happened with COVID, because, people went back outside and were released into the world and were free to do as they please. And that caused a whole bunch of people to go and fuck off and leave video games or play significantly less video games. I could never. It could never be me. I will always play tons of video games. And because of that, of course, the industry contracted, because number cannot always go up as much as shareholders and the businesses want it to happen. It is just realistic that number must eventually go down. And when number goes down, you don't need as many people, and well, hey, here we are. Layoffs continue to happen. And then, of course, after those layoffs happen, we're getting the AI, what we all assume, probably correctly, is a bubble, and that is having its own issues. So, yeah, those things together have caused a shit ton of labor issues in the industry. Of course, you have some good news, though. Games media coming back. Giant Bomb went away briefly and then came back. Game Informer came back. You can buy copies of Game Informer now. Not sure if you're aware of this. Like physical Game Informer, it's back. I paid for a year. And then I found, right, because the internet outside, there's no point to this. And then I looked at Retro Gamer and was like, oh, this magazine actually makes way more sense because no one's talking about this stuff as much anymore. So yeah, I think that, Grand Theft Auto got delayed twice and then moved into this year, so that was cool. You had Super Nintendo World opening in Florida. But yeah, it was just a lot of good and bad through the entire year. It was very yo-yo-y. I know on this show, you would believe the world is on fire all the time and it's all bad news in the game industry, but there was definitely some good stuff that happened, for better or for worse, and hopefully that trend continues. I think that the game industry is very much in a transition period. There's no easy answers. There's no right answers. Everything, and just people are grasping at straws. And until stuff gets kind of mellowed out, evened out, I think you're going to keep seeing that. And I'm just praying to God the layoff finally tamped down. We had hardware come out this year. And not just like weird PC handheld things. Like Nintendo put out a new console this year. I know it doesn't seem like it because, this year feels like a million years all in one. But yeah, we had a console launch in June. That was exciting. I feel like console launches don't have the same oomph they used to. Like the PS5 launch, and granted, that was during COVID, so was the Xbox. It didn't feel like there was an insane amount of excitement. But the Switch 2, I feel like there was a level of excitement. Like our Best Buy had an insane amount of people around that thing. You know, you had 200 people in front of that Best Buy. That was crazy. Uh, and it was cool, and that's been a good system this year. I've probably like the Switch 2 is easily my most used console this year, right? Like my PS5 has been relegated to being a oh, the PC version runs bad. I'll play it on PlayStation. And then exclusives, you know, and otherwise I'm just on my computer. That's it. Xbox had their weird little transition into being a not PC, and that went poorly. The Xbox Ally X is expensive and like it's not selling super great. And as someone who messed around with the Xbox full screen experience, I'm not impressed. I think it has a lot of work before it matches SteamOS, and I think if you buy that expecting a console-like experience out of your PC device, you are going to be fucking so disappointed. I think you are going to be so disappointed if you buy a if you buy an Xbox Ally X, and are expecting like even a Steam Deck experience where you have to do a little bit of troubleshooting, but otherwise it's fine. It you know, like expecting even that experience, yet alone an Xbox or a Switch, uh, in that, especially for the price. You know, you're paying, you know, $1,000, $600. It's the Xbox full screen experience is very half baked. Is basically what I'm saying, and they really, you know, they had supposedly 2 years till their next console. I think if they were smart, they pulled off on that. Uh, you know, yeah. Anyway, you know, Tomonobu Itagaki passed away, the creator of two of my favorite games, Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden. That was unfortunate. Real bummer there. You know, like just another thing that happened is like you had that passing, you have some other major voice actors and art directors and things of that nature, you know, pass away. And it's kind of, you're getting to the point of like, oh yeah, this medium is starting to get old. Like, not as in like you're tired of video games, but as in literally the medium itself is, you know, it's getting old. It is, you know, if you say, okay, it started with Pong in the 70s, you're looking at it's 50 years old. And as such, the people who were, you know, early on in making games, you know, Atari, NES, even early, you know, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, like those people are in their 50s, dude. Like those people are in their 50s. And that's when people, you know, unfortunately in some cases start dying. And you know, the older people, you know, like Miyamoto's in what is early 70s, I think. That man does not have a lot of time left. You know, Kojima is in his 60s. You know, Gaben, I want to say, is in his 60s. Like we're not getting a lot, you know, we're not gonna get a lot more games out of these people. And then, you know, as time comes for us all, is what I'm saying here. But yeah, that was the year as a whole. I feel that was the year as a whole. Like just there. As for me personally, oh, fine. I went to my first Evo. That was amazing. Like, if I had the time and money, I would go to Evo every year. That was an incredible experience. I loved every minute of that. That show is so sick. I cannot wait to go this upcoming year. It is amazing. Just absolutely amazing. So yeah, that was cool. As for games themselves, this is a weird year for me personally, just because there were a lot of really good and great games. Excuse me. There were a lot of really good and really great games this year. No doubt about that. I really loved several. But on the same end of that, like, I would say there are 5 games for me that I was like, yeah, these are the best. And then there was a lot of, yeah, this has a problem, this has a problem, this is good, but this has problems. Like, if I went back to the olden days of when we were at, the Gamer Access, and I was, reviewing almost everything I touched, I would say there are, and we would rate, and by the time I left, we were on a 5-point scale there as well. I I think that there are four, I don't want to spoil my top 10 list that we're doing in the next 2 weeks. There are 4 or 5 games I would have given a 5 out of 5 this year, and then a bunch of 3s out of 5s and 4s out of 5s. And 3 out of 5 is not a bad game, neither is a 4 out of 5, of course. It's just they were flawed in a way I didn't love, or they had X problem or Y problem, and it just ended up kind of souring the experience a bit, or I'm less enthused about it. Like, I love Mario Kart World. I think Mario Kart World is a great game. I wish there was more to the open world. But Knockout Tour is a great time, you know? Like, Monster Hunter Wilds, massive technical issues kind of hindered what is otherwise an amazing game. Ghost of Yotei is more of that experience, but bigger. And it's a great game, but it doesn't impact me as much, which is a shame because I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, you're in your 30s, bro. Of course, it's not going to impact you as much." But I don't know. There were games that did, and like last year, I did not have this problem, and the year before that. I just think that this was a year of, even though I played a ton of video games, probably more than most years, I truly loved about 5. So, I look at, Death Stranding 2, I think the middle of that game is very dry. It's a great game. Middle of it's very dry. I look at I look at Keeper, it's too short. Kind of we really takes a minute for you to wrap your head around it. Like Digimon Story Time Stranger is a grind fest if you want to get what you actually want. Just a lot, like I played Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, and I loved the pirate parts, but I did not give any shits at all about the Yakuza parts. I was like, I really don't want to go around punching dudes. I'm good. Keep me in the pirate ship. I liked Borderlands 4 a lot. I just didn't like its technical issues. That was my problem with that game, is just like it was more just my girlfriend and I were playing it on PC together, and it was just, yo, dog, are you just walking in a road? Crash. Big boss fight, crash. Crash, crash. And by the time they got it fixed, I was less enthused about it. I want to go back to it, though. I want to finish it. Anyway, I can't go into too many details because we got our award show in 2 weeks. I know that I still need to play a bunch of Metroid Prime 4, because that's kind of the last game this year that I have not put significant time into to discuss in a meaningful way. But yeah, so by the way, so far I'm liking it. I'm liking what I've played of Metroid Prime 4 so far. Anyway, let's get into what you've come here for. Let's get into the meaningful stuff. The news. First bit of news here is, hey, guess what? The Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle is being discontinued. They said this would happen. Earlier in the year, they said that this would go through the fall. The Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle would go through the fall. And they kept it through the holiday as a whole. They kept it through December. But yeah, no, they're wrapping it up. So, if you don't want to spend $80 on Mario Kart, this is a supplies last deal now. So go out and get it. And I know that there are several retailers who are running deals where instead of being $500, it was $450. So go get your Switch 2s. Go get them if you want one. Yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with two things. The first thing is hey, RAM shortages are happening now, and that's gonna make the cost of anything that has RAM in it go up. And Nintendo really doesn't want to do that. I think that I think people have a somewhat flawed perspective on Nintendo. They're definitely not perfect. They're not saints. But they do want to try and keep costs affordable because the reason they know why they're successful is because they get people in young and people in early and the family time, and that's not, having a high price device is not conducive to that. And they realize the buy-in to their ecosystem is the console. So they've been trying to pull every possible lever they can, even with tariffs, even with RAM issues, even with everything, to keep the cost of the box affordable. Like when the tariff news came out, they didn't increase the price of the console, they increased the price of all of the accessories and amiibos. And then they pulled then this is happening, the RAM shortage, and they're cutting the bundle. So it's like, okay, well, people are gonna have to pay full price for Mario Kart. That deal is going away. That sucks. But they can still buy into the ecosystem for 450. And I think that with the price increase on everything else, 450 has actually become very fair. Because it used to be you could get a Series S for 300 bucks, even 250 if you got a sale. That device is $400 now. If you are looking at buying same thing with PS5, it's like a digital PS5 is now in the price range of $500, $550 if you want a disk drive. The entry level Steam Deck, as of this week, and I'm gonna blend this story in, is gone. They are not making LCD Steam Decks anymore. So the entry level Steam Deck went from $400 to $550. I also think that the RAM stuff has something to do with that. Like, I just in general think that that they're just trying to pull every lever they can to keep this thing 450 or lower. And I think because of that, when this thing launched, people were yelling, "Drop the price! It's too expensive." But now it's the cheapest console again, besides the Series S, which no one wants. Like this is the cheapest buy-in if you were going brand new. If you were brand new, you are not messing around with that for video games again. Like it's this thing where just like everyone was screaming about these things' price, like tariffs and the general state of the world was not going to affect the price of, like they thought the PS5 was going to stay at that price even with tariffs, which was laughable. But yeah, I think this sucks. I think this was because I felt at like $500, and if you could get that deal for 450, the Switch 2 with a game was genuinely like a really good deal. And this is kind of the last good Nintendo deal going away, and it's gonna make life harder for them. Because then suddenly it's like, oh well, if I want to get Mario Kart, which is one of the three big games for the system, four big games for the system, I am now paying, 530 instead of 500. And in an economy where groceries have gotten more expensive, gas, rent, power, basically everything across the board has gotten more expensive. My internet bill went up today, in fact. Time of recording this. That this is a harder sell. And I think as such, and any new hardware is a hard sell right now. Because, just people don't have money. Because tariffs caused everything to go crazy in price. Shocking. I know. But yeah, I think you could do worse. I think that, they could have kept the bundle but raised the price of the console, defeating the purpose. There was like, which, that in my opinion is way worse. Doing a bundle that's not actually a price drop. Like, I actually hate that more than anything, where it's like, you get the game with it. Am I saving any money? No! Then why do I care? Who the fuck cares? That's actually, like, way worse in my mind. So, anyway, this is a bummer. Add it to the list of shitty price things in this AI nightmare we're living through. Anyway, next news story actually was a good deal, though, for the brief time that it was around. Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3's huge eShop discounts were an error, CD Projekt Red says, but it will honor any sales made. So, yeah, this past week, early during the Christmas week, Cyberpunk 2077 on Switch 2, the Ultimate Edition with all of the DLC, was $17.50. That means to just that game was absurdly cheap, going from 70 down to 17.50. We had a conversation in about the Discord going like, should I buy this? I have it on PC, and I'm like, no. Like, you own a PC handheld too, the person I was talking with, then no. It's like an interesting port, don't get me wrong, we have a copy, but just no. So yeah, and they corrected the discount, made it $40. Yeah, and both these prices were incorrect, and CD Projekt Red is being cool and honoring it, though many places would have canceled the order, which I think that's cool of them. I think that I also think, to be fair, this game is 5 years old and they probably made a shit ton of volume off of that. Even I briefly thought about it, and I have a physical copy of the Switch 2 version. I was like, oh shit, I don't have to have a cartridge. It's tempting. I'm like, stop it. But yeah, so I think that's cool of them, and I think this was a great deal. I still think that its actual price, I set it to, of $40, was also a good deal, to be fair. The Witcher 2 or The Witcher 3 had a similar issue, where it's $15 with a 75% discount. It didn't mean to do whatever discount they gave it at the time. So yeah, good on them for doing that. In a year of companies being like, nah, we're not gonna do the cool thing, they did the cool thing. Alrighty, let's get moving forward. Like I said, it's a slow news week. It's definitely not anything too crazy. All right, we got clearly obscure Expedition 33 Game of the Year award pulled after admitting to generative AI use. The Indie Game Awards retracts Expedition 33's win due to a no generative AI stance. The grassroots-funded Indie Game Awards has retracted its Game of the Year since Samfall admitted to using generative AI, and they gave it to the second-place titles such as Blueprints and Sorry We're Closed. So yeah, and the thing is like, this was in the awards already, right? Like, that's the thing, is that this game, they talked about that. There were concept art and posters in the game that use AI, and I think this is going to happen more and more. Whether it's right or not, like, that's the thing that I feel. Just because more and more studios are going to do it doesn't mean it's necessarily right. I personally don't have an issue with it in the concept art phase and the ideation phase. I think that you should have concept artists. I do think you should have full-time staff. But I also think when you're that early in the process, it's the equivalent of, instead of bouncing off an idea off a person, or getting references from the person, you're getting it from the robot. Google was always free, dog, and if you're getting reference art from Google, what is the difference? And I don't want to come off as pro AI taking jobs in the industry, because I'm definitely not. I think that there is a line. This is a tool. This is a tool, like any other tool, and just like any other tool, it can be misused. You can use a nail gun to shoot someone in the fucking face. You shouldn't. Just like you shouldn't, use AI to make like 75% of your game. But I think some studio will, and it'll turn out poorly, and it'll blow up in their face. I think in the case of like Arc Raiders, that, like, no one cared about the AI voice acting thing. For those of you who don't know, Arc Raiders has they hired voice actors, but they said, "Hey, after the initial sessions here, can we get permission from you to use AI to generate your voice?" And will that fuck over other actors later? I don't know. How's that thing doing? We'll see. Like, there's a lot of what ifs there. However, it's very, the proof is in the pudding that people don't give a shit. It's the number one seller on Steam as of this recording. It's the third most popular game on Steam as of this recording. No one cares that Arc Raiders used AI, and I think the broader thing here, as a whole, that I feel like a lot of people who will watch this show or on the internet in general get lost in is the normal person does not give a shit about AI if the quality is the same. And that is unfortunate because that impacts art in a lot of negative ways. I think that it's super shitty. I think that it's yeah, I think that's gonna hurt in the long term, especially for people who are kind of into the artistry of games and want to see the best AAA can do. Like I played Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 this year, right? And both of those are big budget AAA games that are, way more polished than your average AAA game. And I'm like, man, I miss when most AAA games had this level of polish in it and weren't just Assassin's Creed Shadows, blobs, just a blob of, content to consume. Eat product piggies. And I think AI, if it goes where a lot of the business people in games want to go, that will be most of AAA games because they will be like 75% made by AI. And that is the concern everyone has. But I also think that your average person playing video games does not care. It just needs to be good enough. They do not give a shit. It just needs to be good enough. And I think what is going to happen is people who do give a shit and people who are more discerning will get fucked by this. And the fact that I still think your standard, like 95% crafted by a human video game will exist. I just think that it will be a boutique product that sells for insane amounts of money. I think that is the reality of it. I think that you will have a case where, whoever it is, Kojima, Nintendo, PlayStation, whatever studio, CD Projekt is like, yeah, we're not using AI, but because of that, we can't keep costs down. Like, we know this product will sell, so here we're gonna make this for, this is gonna be a $200 video game entirely handcrafted by people. And it's, boutique video games. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's just the way it is. Because I guarantee you that most people did not care that Expedition 33 also selling gangbusters. Even after this story, like, of using generative AI for some of the concept art and placeholder assets, right? Like, number 4 bestseller on Steam, right as this moment. Right? Like, probably, yeah, number 33 on the most played on Steam right now. Single player game that's over half a year old in the top, 50. Crazy. It's just this thing where your average person does not give a flying shit at all. And it shows. It absolutely shows. I think that I get the Indie Game Awards hardline stance, and hey, happy for Blueprints. Will I guess my question is like, where do award shows and where are people going to draw the line beyond quality? Because I do think your average gamer, the person who is playing Arc Raiders, the person who the person who just buys 2-3 games a year, you look at the Steam replay for the year, the median person played like 5 games this year. Like, that person, I don't think they care. I think the sickos like me who played, 58 new games this year, that person is gonna be very upset about this. People who are listening to this are gonna be very upset about this. I think that necessarily and the thing is that average person who plays 4 games on Steam a year way outnumbers the weirdos like me who are playing 58 new games a year. Like that's just how it is. You know. So take that how you will. Um, yeah. Next news story. Oh, oops, hold on. And there we go. Okay, next news story. Battlefield. We are flying through these today. This might just be an hour show, everybody. Battlefield head, Call of Duty co-creator, and Respawn CEO Vince Zampella has died. The creator of Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, and Battlefield veteran died in a car crash at age 55. Reported by NBC Los Angeles. The former Infinity Ward co-founder and Call of Duty creator died in a car crash on Southern California's Angeles Crest Highway. The car reportedly veered off the road in the San Gabriel Mountains and hit a concrete barrier, after which it caught fire. Zampella, the driver, was trapped in the fire, while a passenger was ejected from the car as a result of the crash. Zampella died at the scene, and the passenger passed later at the hospital. Yeah, this is fucking horrible. This is fucking horrible, and it goes beyond games. You don't. 55 was certainly not young, is also not old, and to see someone die, burning to death in a fucking car, that's a shit way to go. You can find the crash on the internet. I'm not gonna show that shit here. Yeah, and he was well known in the industry, right? Like that's a big part of why this is news. Like that the modern shooter, especially on console, in my mind, is shaped by 2 games. One is Halo, which he did not touch, and the other is Call of Duty, which that man is a big part of why Call of Duty is so successful. Yes, these games are made by huge teams even back then, but like he had the final say on a lot of this, and a lot of the modern shooter is because of Call of Duty. That ADS, left trigger, right trigger, that the perks, the progression systems, the fast movement, 60 FPS is the standard. Like that was all Call of Duty, like up to when he left with Modern Warfare 2. Right? Like a lot of what the console shooter is, the console shooter experience, why shooters went this way, is because of the decisions this guy made. And I think that he affected the industry a lot more than people realize. You had guys like Kojima coming out and, saying, hey, he was a big part of my career. He's a big reason why I was able to confidently tell Konami to go pound sand, because he had a very similar falling out with EA, for those of you who remember. They weren't getting paid out the bonuses from Modern Warfare 2, and they had a lot of beef over that new thing, and he said, fuck you, and left and joined EA to go briefly run Battlefield before opening Respawn, and he ran Respawn, and, Titanfall was a great and amazing game. Titanfall 2 is still one of the best games ever made. Dude, Titanfall 2 is a game that you all need to fucking play. If you have not played Titanfall 2, you should. And, the Jedi games were awesome, and, Apex Legends was a mega hit, and, he was the one who headed up Battlefield 6, right? And Battlefield 6 is one of the best games of the year. It is easily one of the best games of the year, and one of the ones I have enjoyed the most this year. And a lot of that is because he made it into something sick as fuck and very intimately understood Battlefield. So yeah, it sucks for his family. It sucks for the industry. It it sucks for everyone involved in this. That's attached to this guy. Um, yeah, I think that I do think that interestingly enough, this is a very interesting take on EA because I kind of feel that Zampella and then the Haze Light team is kind of what was stopping from EA being just horrible to being the absolute just worst of the worst of the worst. So yeah, I think in the broader space of games, this could be really bad for Electronic Arts. But yeah, I think that it's unfortunate. It's a loss for the industry. It's a loss for his family. Um, I only got to meet him once. I went to an event in 2017. He was very nice, very cool, very cordial with everyone. Um, his team had nothing but awesome things to say about him. Genuinely seemed like a guy that everyone attached to him fucking loved. Right, like that. That's it's kind of one of the best things that you can say about a person is that everybody who has ever met the person has nothing but awesome things to say about him. So yeah, this sucks. It's also a real shitty way to close out 2025 is like, yeah, one of the biggest names in the industry died. GG, enjoy that. So, all right. We gotta keep the bus moving. We gotta keep the train a rolling. So let's get into the next story here. Which, speaking of EA, EA shareholders greenlight $55 billion takeover by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. They will own 93.4% of Battlefield Publisher if it clears government scrutiny. Which it will, because the president's son is related to this deal, and I cannot imagine that it will not pass. I have a very, 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 very good feeling that because of a Mr. Jared Kushner, president's son-in-law, this will very much be going through. Yeah, it sucks. And unfortunately, EA also makes a lot of games where, once again, I don't think the general product matters all that much to the people playing those games. Madden has not been particularly good for a decade. It still sells, still top 5 seller every year. The Star Wars license, like, does Jedi Fallen Order, no, Jedi Survivor, excuse me, is a great game, but it launched completely broken. Nobody cares. It sold a bajillion copies. Yeah, that's just the nature of EA. That's just the nature of EA. It's so I think as much as we might kick and scream and bitch about this, it's not going to stop anyone who is currently invested in games like Battlefield from playing it and even if this horrible government is involved. I shouldn't say anyone. There's going to be someone who doesn't, but I think most of the people who are into that are just going to go, yep, that sucks. All right, cool. I'm going to go back to playing Battlefield now. See ya. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. Play indie games. Indie games are cool. Go play Skate Story. Go play Expedition 33. Go play Dispatch. I just... How about you play games that aren't owned by the worst people in the world now? Or some of the worst people in the world. I say as we're doing a Split Fiction LP right now. Jesus Christ. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this is not a surprise. I mean, after you let Microsoft buy Activision, I don't think that there's any merger that's not going to happen. Like, that is one of the biggest companies in the world. buying another one of the biggest companies in the world. That's all the that I do not think the Microsoft Activision deal should have gone through necessarily. But it did because they greased the right wheels, and this also has the right wheels primed to be greased. It's gonna happen. So, how will it affect their games? I don't know. A lot of their games don't have content that would Saudi Arabia would give a shit about. I guess maybe like less gay people, unfortunately, but who just we'll see how this develops. I'm curious to see how this is going to affect stuff that if stuff in EA not related to their sports projects or their biggest stuff gets affected by this. Like Haze Light's next game, right? Like you think about It Takes Two and you think about Split Fiction and you're like, I don't know how these games would have been handled by those people, so I'm kind of curious how it's going to be handled going forward. But we'll see. All right. Next news story. 007 First Light has been delayed by 2 months. Iowa Interactive says it's confident this 007 First Light up for long-term success, or they're confident it sets it up for this long-term success. So game was confirmed for March 27th, gets pushed to May 27th for extra polish. First Light is our First Light is our most ambitious project to date, and the team has been fully focused on delivering an unforgettable James Bond experience, bringing together breathtaking action, globe-trotting spycraft, gadgets, car chases, and more. As an independent developer and publisher, this decision allows us to ensure this experience meets the level of quality you players deserve on day one. The game is progressing well and is fully playable from beginning to end, so these 2 additional months will allow us to further polish and refine the experience. We're ensuring we are delivering the strongest possible version at launch. We're confident this 007 First Light this sets up 007 First Light up for long-term success, and we sincerely appreciate the patience and continued support we've received ever since we revealed the game. We look forward to sharing more updates regarding 007 First Light in early 2026. Thank you for your support. I think that the Hitman guys making a James Bond game might be the easiest layup in the history of video games. And this game has no reason not to be so unbelievably fucking awesome. So I think a 2-month delay is completely reasonable. I think in the grand scheme of games, that's not that big of a deal. There's a ton of stuff coming out all the time. Not much is coming out in January, but in February alone, you have Mario Tennis, you have Romeo's a Dead Man, Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties, Resident Evil Requiem. March, you have Screamer and Toxic Commando and Soros, and there's a lot of stuff coming out, so it's not like this delay is that big of a deal. If it gets a bunch of extra polish, that's awesome. I think that I wish more games would do this. I'm actually really happy about this. I'm not nearly enough games get the polish they need. You have cases, like Monster Hunter Wilds, right? Like that game came out on the PC version, especially being fairly kind of janky. And, it's great now, but not time. So it's nice to see they're putting extra polish in. And I also think that when they showed the gameplay of this at that PlayStation Showcase, it looked good. Like, it looked like a good video game, but there were very clear, concerning FPS drops. Like there were very clear, concerning, big issues with that. So yeah, I think that it's I think that it's fine. I think that what was it? like I think getting a 2-month delay so we can have a more polished game that loads well. Like I remember that State of Play, like dude, just yeah, just chunky frame rate and other issues here and there. Like I think having a finished experience. Uh, I think having a finished experience matters a lot today, and I think if this James Bond game is everything it can be, uh, yeah, great. And IO Interactive has made amazing Hitman content for almost a decade. Jesus Christ, it will be a decade by the time that this game is out. So having James Bond, come out and be as polished as possible, probably a big win for them. So sure, why not? Give it 2 months. 2 months is more than fair. So yeah. Last news story kind of in hot is that hey, Microsoft is Microsofting, and I so in short, they are looking to hire MLM experts to work on Halo and work on Gears and Forza, and they are, looking to get more AI into their video games. What that means in terms of development, we don't know. We're not gonna know. You want to talk about shit this year this is the most disappointing year for Xbox, probably like ever, like probably ever. Like I know that we talk about 2013 a lot, ha ha ha, TV, but like there was still a sense of optimism and hope. They rolled back a lot of those bad decisions, and all this, like there was a lot of positive things going on at the time versus like the nicest things you can say about Xbox at the moment is, man, a lot of the games that came out that were published by them, they left them alone and they turned out great because of it. Like the narrative right now is like, man, if they just leave them alone, or like barely manage them and just make sure they come out, it is like what's doing well. And that sucks. That sucks really bad. Ugh. So yeah. God. Add to the list, right? They we had what was it? A very long series of news stories, basically the entire year of yep, Microsoft fucking up again, huh? Yeah, Microsoft fucking up again, huh? Oh yeah, new news story about how Microsoft's fucking up again. Yeah, like it's just a consistent series of fuck ups. Yeah, so yeah. I don't know. Anyway, couple more things here to look at is outside of news, the Steam Awards are going on. I always find the Steam Awards very interesting because it's this thing where you get kind of what the general public's opinion on Steam is about what the best games of the year are. Because I get my opinion and the opinion in the press and amongst my circles, but it's nice to see the people's choice, as it were, um, of what the best PC games are in a given year. So I kind of wanted to go through those nominees and see how I felt about them and whatnot. So let's do that. I'll start from the bottom. Sit back and relax. This game is an antidote to a busy day. It's smooth, it's relaxing. Let your worries melt away. This game is your moment of zen. The options they have are Slime Rancher 2, Mega Bonk, Power Wash Simulator 2, Chill with You, Lo-Fi Story, and RV There Yet. I voted for Slime Rancher 2 because it and Power Wash Simulator are the two that seem the most chill, but are still video games. Lo-Fi Story seems cool, but it barely seems like a game, at least from the outside. And then RV There Yet is a party game, and I already know that that is stressful. And I know Mega Bulk is Vampire Survivors in 3D, so these other two are the only ones that are actually relaxing, and everyone I know who's played Slime Rancher 2 seems to really enjoy it. Outstanding story-rich game. Some days only a narrative-heavy game will hit the spot, and this one packs a wall up. It's as gripping as any soap opera, and as well-tuned as prestige TV screenplay. Bravissimo for making us feel things. The nominees were No, I'm Not Human, Dying Light the Beast, Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance, The Last of Us Remastered, and Dispatch. I have not heard of or played No, I Am Not Human, so I don't know what that is. I did not enjoy the other Dying Light games, so I got nothing for that. Kingdom Come 2, I was not interested in playing Medieval Peasant Simulator. I am surprised The Last of Us 2 is on here. I think that is a good story told very poorly. I've gone over this on the show before. I think that it's coming to PC 5 years late, and this is always one of the weird parts about the Steam Awards for me is like, that game is really old. Well, I guess it's new to Steam. And then Dispatch. I voted for Dispatch. Dispatch is the only one of these that resonated with me, and I think that, between the two, out of the two games I have played, it is the one with the far more enjoyable narrative and story. So, take that how you will. Best soundtrack. The Unsung Hero deserves to be recognized for the most outstanding musical score. It's the OST with the most. Rift of the Necrodancer, Spider-Man 2, Deltarune, Tokyo Extreme Racer, and Expedition 33. I think that Expedition 33 has basically a layup win here. I have paid for that on vinyl. That was like 7 songs in my Apple Music replay for the year were on that thing. So I think that there's that. I think that, okay, so out of the other options though, Rift of the Necrodancer, great game, great soundtrack. Spider-Man 2, I don't really understand. It's very Danny Elfman Spider-Man. Tokyo Extreme Racer, good music. Deltarune, good music. All good choices, just not as good as Expedition 33. Let's see. Best game you suck at. This Game Awards persistence is not for the faint of heart. It's the toughest game we've ever loved. Hollow Knight Silksong, Path of Exile 2, Where the Winds Meet, Elden Ring Night Rain, Marvel Rivals. I think realistically Hollow Knight's gonna win. It probably deserves it. Silksong is a murderer's row of a video game. That said, though, man, Marvel Rivals has the real hardest game of the year because have you ever solo queued to Platinum or Diamond? Because I have, and that is truly the hard persistence because Hollow Knight you have to beat a game. Marvel Rivals, you have to overcome other people's incompetence. And that's truly the hardest thing you can do. So, most innovative gameplay award. Mage Arena, Escape from Duckov, Europa Universalis 5, Blueprints, Arc Raiders. I give to Arc Raiders. I think that Arc Raiders was a game that, and I think it's going to win. I think that it finally made the extraction shooter digestible to people who are not absolute total shut-in neckbeards. Guys who look like me. I think that it made what is normally a very complicated genre something simple and easy to digest. And I think that's awesome. I think that is a big win for that franchise, that that genre. And I think it also stopped Bungie from having a heart attack at this particular moment because they were probably wondering how to do that with Marathon. Well, we know it's Arc Raiders. Calm down. You probably have a cool idea. Um, some of the blue stuff in Blueprints and Major Arena was cool, but not Arc Raiders cool. Outstanding Visual Style Award. Visual style doesn't aspire to real-world graphical fidelity, though a noble goal in itself. It describes a distinctive look and feel that suffuses an entire game. Ina Dream Barbecue, My Little Puppy, Doom the Dark Ages, Silent Hill F, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yet another game that it was a year old. But talking about this, so I look at this option and I think Final Fantasy is the most obvious choice, it feels like, with Silent Hill F being a close second. I don't think the visuals in Doom the Dark Ages are anything all that special. I think it is more Doom, but with a little bit of medieval flavor to it. I think it's fine. There's some stuff in design-wise that's cool, like the fucking hell dragon with the cyber wings, that's neat. The shield is neat, but doesn't blow my mind. Ina Dream Barbecue, that is a very distinct visual design, and it's interesting. It doesn't blow me away. I think it looks cool. It reminds me a lot of Killer 7, which it's always a big win, but doesn't wow me. My Little Puppy, it's fine. It's cute. It's not, I don't know how that got there, but sure. Silent Hill F, okay, that game is definitely like Unreal Engine taken to the furthest extreme, but it does look amazing and it is very stylistic. But I look at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that game visually, dude, is just stunning. The vistas, the world, the summons. I have a lot of complaints about the game, but visually, even playing it on the PS5 base edition, it was a hell of a game visually. And like playing it on a PS5 Pro and a PC like makes it even better. Like that game taken to its fullest potential is fucking incredible. It's fucking incredible. It's the only way to describe it. It is incredible visually. It is technically proficient, and then also has the art to back it up. It's an incredible experience. So yeah, I gave it to that. Silent Hill F, very close second though. Next up, Better with Friends. These are games out there that just aren't the same when you play them by yourself. Maybe you need to have friends to watch your back. Maybe you need to have friends that can stab in their back. Either way, it's fun awaiting those who gather friends together to play this game. The games they had here, and I am surprised Arc Raiders did not make this list. It is very weird to me because I think that game, playing it with other people is probably the best way to play it. Peak, Schedule 1, Split Fiction, Repo, and Battlefield 6. A lot of, party games, what the kids are calling the friend slop on here, with Split Fiction and Battlefield 6. So I personally went with Battlefield 6. I think the friend slop, the casual co-op, the party games are fine. They're fun. I just think it's kind of the same design philosophy amongst them, and it's not all that interesting. Split Fiction is cool, but it's only 2 people. Like, that's the thing. It's just friends, not friend. Obviously, you can only play Split Fiction with one, co-op, which is a big thing in its favor, but yes. Battlefield 6 is one that's like, if you get a full four-person squad going, and you're having an amazing time, and you're communicating, and like, you have one person on recon playing being Overwatch for your group, and you got a medic keeping your assault, and your engineers going, and you're like really vibing as a team, like, dude, it rules. It fucking rules. So that's why I went that route. Obviously, it's kind of an experience that requires a lot more coordination than all of these Split Fiction, but I think it's real special because of that. Best on Steam Deck. This game was so good, you want to take it everywhere. So you grabbed your Steam Deck and did. Luckily, everything that made it endlessly playable at your desk got even better on the go. Nominees: Clover Pitch, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, Ball Pit, Hades 2, and Digimon Storytime Stranger. First off, all y'all voting on Steam should be ashamed of yourself that Illuminous Arise is not in here. Luminous Arise is played best on a portable, as all Luminous games are, and you should be ashamed it's not on here. Go rethink your life. But I have to work with what you've given me, and as such, I am torn between Hades 2, which is more Hades, but it is kind of just more Hades. It's Hades. It's I like it. It's a great game. It's one of the best games of the year, for sure. But and then you have Digimon Story Time Stranger, which is what I ended up voting for, because I can get a cyborg T-Rex to go murder things. And it's just a really weirdly deep, fun RPG. My only real complaint of it's a little easy. But that's not that big of a deal overall. It's a great game. But no, my real choice for best on deck is Luminous Arise. That's the real answer. Go play Luminous Arise on your Steam decks. Labor of Love. This game has been out for a while. The team is well past the debut of their creative baby, but being good parents they are, the devs continue to nurture and support their creation. This game, to this day, is still getting new content after all these years. The options are No Man's Sky, Rust, Dota 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and Helldivers 2. I think you can definitely make an argument for No Man's Sky. That game had a real big year. That game had, quite frankly, a huge year in terms of what it added. And then there's Baldur's Gate 3, of course, same thing. Like, they keep adding stuff to an already incredible, long-as-hell game. It's kind of like the point with Baldur's Gate 3 where I don't want to touch it anymore until they've confirmed, okay, we're done touching it. We're going to leave it alone. But I would have Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 got me to come back this year in a big way. That Halo crossover alone, I mean, I got my dream. I'm dressed as an ODST going and in the Helldivers world. I got what I wanted. I'm a simple man sometimes. That's what I wanted. VR game of the year, I'm not gonna go over this. I don't even think I touched my VR headset this year outside of maybe a little Beat Saber. Like, it just, I'm waiting for the frame. Hopefully that gets me back in. And then game of the year. This is what everyone kind of went in on for the Steam Awards this year. Nominees are Hollow Knight Silksong, Arc Raiders, Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance, Dispatch, and Expedition 33. I'm not going to tell you what I voted for, because I don't want to spoil my own awards in 2 weeks. I will say 2 of these games are ones that are going to be in my top 10 list. That's basically it. There you go. That's the Steam Awards, everybody. All right. So one thing that I've been I want to do this upcoming year, and I realized this was a good idea, or probably a good idea. We'll see. We'll see. Results may vary. But one thing that I really want to do this year is kind of engage more with our comments. Because we post clips almost every week from the podcast. We all comment, and I do respond, but I want to respond more directly within the show, and then go and maybe link people to it. So we kind of have 2 videos this week. Get a lot of comments. One is on the Naughty Dog is already in crunch. A bunch of people have things to say about Intergalactic that are stupid. If you go on here and complain about Woke or the DEI, I am not going to take you seriously. That's just it. I'm sorry. Like, we've seen almost nothing of the game. Your opinion is lazy, and someone did your thinking for you. We don't know anything about the game. We don't know how it functions. We barely, and that wasn't even what we were talking about. We were talking about how Naughty Dog is crunching. But instead we get a bunch of people commenting about the main character and the status of the game flopping, and just being the most miserable fucking people on the planet. Is the short version of it. They're just sad, miserable people. You know, just like, I'm gonna go fucking be negative on this random YouTube video about this game that isn't out, even though what we're really talking about is crunch culture at the studio. You know, take that. You know, we got one constructive comment on that, which, yeah, I agree. We should probably put more notes together so we have less dead air. I do agree. That's something I'm gonna try and do in 2026. So thank you, Sunset69. You had a helpful comment. The rest of these people on that video are fucking idiots. These fucking people. As for another comment that I found to be good, though, from last week, PlayStation had a $100 sale on each model, so of course it sold well. So the story was, console sales fall 27% this holiday. Everything is definitely fine. We talked about how most hardware did poorly, most, retail physical games were not great, but that's, such a small segment of the market. It's not really notable to talk about. So yeah, what he had to say is PlayStation had a $100 sale on each model, so of course it sold well. Switch 2 is the newest console this year, so it had the second best. So it sold second best, and it also had 0 sales. Xbox sold because it didn't bother lowering price. And they don't want you to buy it hardware, period, which is true. It's like, whatever. We don't really give a shit about selling Xboxes now. Leave us alone. And PC gaming is too expensive for parts. I've been on PC for 18 years. I'm sick of the PC part crisis. They're trying to kill PC gaming, the hardware market, so they can sell us cloud gaming and subscriptions. I don't necessarily believe that, but sure. I played the Matrix Awakens demo on my Series X. If new games came out and ran smooth for $70 with the quality of that demo, I think gaming would be awesome this generation. This generation is underwhelming as fuck. I don't necessarily agree with that. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I do think that this generation in the AAA space is a little underwhelming. Games are taking too long to put out. Games are requiring bigger and bigger teams for less impact as a whole. Like, I generally think that yeah, I generally think that there's less impact in the AAA space. But I think there have been tons of great games. I mean, like 2023 alone, right? I look back to my 2023 favorite games list, because we do a top 10 every year. And I'm like, Street Fighter 6, banger. Spider-Man 2, banger. Alan Wake 2, banger. Resident Evil 4 Remake, banger. Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder, banger. Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Stars, banger. Final Fantasy 16, banger. Baldur's Gate 3, absolute banger. I think that one thing we are seeing is, like, if you're into a particular genre or into a particular franchise, you're probably having a worse time. And I think a lot of that is because of the fact that it's, you're getting more time between games. I mean, excuse me. So I think that's part of it. Yeah. I definitely think that's part of it. That said, I think that if you enjoy video games as a whole and the broader video game space, then I think that it's fine. Like, I think there's actually a lot of really good games coming out. Yeah. Like, that's basically it. Like, there's a lot of good games coming out. I think that this generation, yeah, if you wanted to push graphics tech, sure. Like, it's kind of disappointing. It was a handful of games, but I also don't think that's the interesting part about games. And if that's what you're in games for, it's not that great. I think that there is a benefit right now to the stuff being kind of messed up and bad in terms of video games and pricing. And it's more the fact that we have you know, people are going to be running on this current hardware for a very long time. I think that we might even see a generation delay. Everybody in the world's like, new consoles 2027. But if these RAM shortages and other problems keep up, I don't think that is a smart idea. Uh, and I don't think they're getting as much sales as they could out of the current crop of consoles. And if that is the case, I think delaying that, running this hardware even longer, creating like a 10 plus year generation for the current crop of hardware would be a great idea. And I also think that it would be, and I think that another benefit is we could potentially see more optimized games out of this too. And I talk about this in a video I'm working on currently where it's, yeah, the PC part crisis sucks, but I think for most games nowadays, you don't need the world's craziest PC, right? Like, you look at some of the most popular games this year, they don't require crazy computers. Like Claire Expedition 33, if you want to play it on, recommended settings, 3060 Ti, it's not like a crazy ask. It's a 5-year-old GPU that was like mid-range at the time. Like you look at the recommended settings for Battlefield 6, right? One of the best looking games this year. 3060 Ti. Arc Raiders, I think a 2070. One of the biggest games of the year. And then you're like, well, what about, Indiana Jones? And I'm like, yeah, okay, like a 3080 is definitely beefier. I think that's what that game required, right? Recommended. Oh, a 3080 Ti. Okay, you're looking at a 5-year-old card. But, like, on the other side of that, it's like, you know, like, you don't need to run it on that. If you want, like, just playable good time with it, you can run it on a, like a 2070, 2080 and probably be fine. That's a 7-year-old GPU, people. And I think that there's this want to, like, 4K, 120 FPS, ray tracing, everything on. It's like, dude, I don't know. If the game runs at 60 and looks good, it's like not. It's fine. Like like that. At the end of the day, I think people get way too concerned on the. It's kind of like the Nintendo thing, right? Where it's like a lot of people get concerned about the tech specs, but they don't think about the actual product and how it functions. Like, at the end of the day, and I think that it's like it's to the detriment of a lot of what video games is. Like, in an ideal world, I would love every game to come out and run at 120 FPS, 4K, no upscaling at all, be perfect, but that's not reality. So yeah. That's basically that. I don't know, man. Like, I think that realistically, hardware is on the PC side. Yeah, if you're the type of person who you have to have the newest graphic card right as it comes out, just like, I don't know, man, have a little bit of self control. Like Final Fantasy 16, another absolutely gorgeous game this year. Asked for a 2080. Once again, 7-year-old graphics card. We're fine. We're fine. It's okay. It is okay, everyone. We're gonna be all right. The kids are gonna be all right. So that's it for comments. That was it for comments. Last up is what I've been playing. I played video games this week, as I do most weeks. It's very rare that I think the only time I didn't play games this week was when I went to Evo, and I technically did play games at Evo. They were just like pinball arcade games. I finished Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. I was kind of absolutely fucking blown away by that game. I was 100% blown away. I loved every goddamn minute of that game. Yeah, Ted fucking. It's definitely still like a Warriors game. Everybody, like, don't get me wrong. Like, it is very much a here's a bunch of dudes in these environments, go murder them. Like that's the long and the short of it. Don't get me wrong, but it's so goddamn polished. Like they it has its own unique story. It's set during the imprisoning war. Like this whole story with Ganon and the what he did and all this other stuff, like it's awesome. It's just awesome. Um, so yeah, I think that game, because so I skipped Age of Calamity, I skipped Three Hopes, I skipped every game of the franchise after Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, which I enjoyed that game, but it very much felt like we applied a Dynasty Warriors. This isn't really a crossover, or like this. We put the skin on Dynasty Warriors, right? Right, we put a nice crossover skin on that, and I'm like, okay, I guess. Um, versus this, which is just like, no, this is a full on crossover. This is a full on 100% crossover. Like, this is Zelda, but this with this gameplay style. And it's awesome. Like, I love the combo attacks between the heroes. Even the like characterization and characters they did. I love Calamo, and I like him talking to the stand-in for Link, which is a robot man. And like the robot can't talk, and just Calamo's just like, me and my bud here are out to save people. And the robot just looks at him like, yeah, sure, dude. Yeah, why not? It's just it's just so fucking charming, and it's a great game to just pick up and play and kind of grind out and have a good time with. Um so yeah, I had a great time with that game. I was surprised how much I liked it. I was surprised how much I just played that game. Like, I basically straight shot it over 2 weeks. I played it for 4 days straight on the couch with my girlfriend when she was playing Animal Crossing. Like, just having an amazing time. The combo attacks are fun. The RPG elements are fun. Like, I finished the main story, and I still have kind of like had the itch to go back. I'm like, well, I could just knock out all those side missions. Why not? Why do I max out the characters and do the post game? There's stuff there to do. Which is not something because like when I finished Hyrule Warriors, like the original and the definitive edition, I was like, okay, okay. I was very much in the camp of like, okay, this is cool. This is a cool game. Yeah. So like I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was a good game. A plus. Weird for me to be saying about a Warriors game. It's still very much a 4 out of 5 because it is a Warriors game. It's very simple. It's go kill all the dudes. Sometimes kill all the dudes in a time limit. But all the fighting styles feel distinct enough. I like all the characters. It looks great. It runs really great. Yeah. If anything, it actually made me want them to put out a Switch 2 edition of Age of Calamity, because I would play the shit out of that. Because I want to go see it, but I skipped it because like I looked at the tech test and I'm like, this looks like it runs horribly. Like, Age of Imprisonment has some frame dips, but like Age of Calamity looks like it barely ran. So that's kind of my big issue with that. All right. I started Shinobi Art of Vengeance. That game is awesome. That game, it's hard as it's so hard. I got stuck on that like second boss for like 40 minutes. I am not good at that kind of game, but it has such this amazing art style. Like, it looks like someone took a very highly detailed Saturday morning cartoon and decided, oh man, we're gonna go and make it into a video game. The combat feels great. That mechanic where you go in and you get all the enemies around you health down to like a quarter or an eighth, and then you hold left bumper and press right bumper and just boom, 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 all one shot them and get a bunch of health back. I think the combo system and the fighting feels really good. I think the platforming feels okay. I don't think the platforming feels a little stiff. Like, it's still good, but it's not quite there. My early impressions are, though, like, Shinobi Art of Vengeance it's great. It's a great game. At least so far. I'm not that far in. I'm on the fourth mission so far, and yeah, but it looks good. The music is catchy, dude. The Shinobi Art of Vengeance soundtrack. Ninja games this year with B soundtrack. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound had a good soundtrack. Ninja Gaiden 4 had a good soundtrack. This has a good soundtrack. The secret to good video game soundtrack is ninja games. The secret to good video game soundtracks is apparently ninja games. So, sorry, I wanted to mark that down for some reason. Anyway, let's the last thing I got here is I beat the tutorial from Metroid Prime 4. The intro of the game feels like Halo. It does not feel like the intro to a Metroid game. Like Metroid Prime 1 feels like the intro to a Metroid game. 2 feels like the intro to like a horror game almost. 3 is 3 is like just kind of its own thing. And like 4, playing Metroid Prime 4, that intro tutorial area feels like yo dog Halo Metroid. So I'm kind of curious to see where the rest of the game goes. Yeah, so but an interesting story about that game that came out because of an interview with Famitsu is apparently that game got made because Nintendo of America requested it. Like they went to NOJ, Nintendo of Japan, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, sure, no, we'll go ahead and make this." So that's neat. That's kind of a cool little fun fact with it. Anyway, everybody, that's a show. Sorry that's a little more scatterbrained than normal and a little more everything. It's kind of I want to do a fun solo show for the week. Well, everyone's kind of on vacation enjoying themselves because I like doing it. And we hope to see you next week, and we love you, and gonna see you in the new year, and hopefully we got a lot of cool shit planned. Bye.